Hi, everyone. Welcome to Unfiltered. I'm Meghann Cook, and today it is my pleasure to welcome Mr. Greg Shtrahman to the show. Greg is the Business Development Manager at Marzocchi. Welcome, Greg.
Good morning, Megan. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Thank you for joining
Yeah,
me.
thank you for having me.
So, Greg, always the first question. How did you get started in the fluid power industry?
The $1,000,000 question, right? I had an interesting path. Out of graduate school, my first job was not in fluid power. It was actually in the steel industry. I was in the steel industry with the Marmon Group for my first 3 years, from 92 to 95. And I joined the fluid power industry in end of 1995. And it was with Miller Fluid Power, who was eventually purchased by Parker Hanifin. It was a cylinder manufacturer out of Bentonville, Illinois. Very at that time, very historic company. Second largest cylinder manufacturer, second to Parker, and that's why Parker ended up purchasing us. I then stayed with Parker for Hanifin for 6 years, multiple roles, territory manager and key account manager. It was a very interesting experience for sure. Broadened my experience, exposed me to a lot of markets that I was not previously exposed to. After that, I had joined Monarch Hydraulics, which was also kind of a historic company of that's owned by Booker today, of DC and AC power units, power packs. And I transitioned because in 2008 we were purchased by Booker Hydraulics, and I spent 12 years, great experience with Booker Hydraulics, multiple roles as a regional manager. That I was promoted to district sales manager. A gentleman did you interviewed Jeff Watts before, was my boss at Booker. We're still friends today, actually.
Yeah, you know
We
how
stay at
small
that.
the fluid power world is, Greg.
It is, yeah. So it is really small. And then I joined Monarch, sorry, too many positions. I joined Marzocchi Pumps beginning of 2014 as the North American sales manager, and I've been with them ever since. I've had multiple positions. I'm now business development manager. We wear many different hats because we're a niche manufacturer of hydraulic gear pumps and gear motors. So this is where my career led me to today in my current position.
Very nice. So you've had a plethora of experience, Greg.
Yes.
What would you say is your most fun and or important project that you've worked?
Oh boy, there's been a few for sure. I would say the most interesting and it really always stick in my mind because it was right before 9/11, and uh, it was when I was with Miller Fluid Power. We were a very large cylinder manufacturers for Wheelbrader, and at that time, Wheelbrader was a very large company that made filtration systems for the smokestacks you see on power plants and so forth. So our actuators were opening and closing the vents, the filtration vents on these smokestacks. Very large project, very interesting. It was so interesting because we had massive, you can imagine, massive competition, including my future employer who was Parker, and it was just a really interesting application from the standpoint that if you go to these power plants, these smokestacks really stand out. They're very, very high, as you know, and you have to be very precise. We were not doing the valving, but we were doing all the actuators. So that really, it was very unique at that time for me because I never did such an application, and it had to be so precise because you could imagine it's very difficult to maintain them. The manpower it would take to do any maintenance work because they were so high. Weather conditions are very difficult in many cases. That was probably one of my most interesting applications that I could think of. And what really made it fascinating, in my final meeting, I was in downtown Pittsburgh. That's where Wheelbrader's headquarters were. And 9/11 hit that day. I was in downtown. We didn't know what was going on, and it was difficult. We finished the meeting, and then he said, there's something going on. There's something in the news. We should wrap it up. And from there, it's history,
Wow.
as you know. Yeah. So that's why it stuck in my head so much. And one of so it wasn't that far away. So
Right.
it's just something that sticks with you, for the rest of your life. But it was very, very
Yeah,
interesting application.
absolutely. Absolutely. So the a lot to be made now about smart technology and IoT and the integration into machinery now. What have you seen from when you started out till now, the changes in that regard?
It's a really interesting question. And when I first started off my career, I think like the Internet of Things wasn't quite there. We were most dealing with, let's say, Allen Bradley PLC controllers, integration. And I'm fortunate because I was exposed to automation and integration of hydraulics as it pertained to that. As you know, it's come a long way, Megan.
Yeah.
Now we're dealing with just-in-time onboard electronics, many different things. And even though my current position, I'm not involved as much in that because we primarily produce specialty gear pumps and gear motors.
Mhm.
My integrators are that we work with some very large integrators. So I've seen the technology come a long way. I would say we're very active in variable frequency drives because of our helical pump technology, which is very precise. I see the cost of all these technologies stabilizing. At the beginning, a lot of these technologies are very expensive, whether you're dealing with variable frequency drives, onboard electronics, real-time communication, let's say on either mobile machinery or industrial machinery. We see some of the technology definitely going up, especially now with AI too, is a factor. And the cost of technology seems to be slowly stabilizing as there's more competition, more players. At the beginning, it was obviously the cost factors were factoring in to many people's decisions. But now, as technology progresses, cost factors are stabilizing. And as I mentioned, like many things that we're involved in the mobile industry and industrial, especially with the variable frequency drives and other technology, it's come a long way. Also with electrification and how let's say electrohydraulics now is working hand in hand with electrification is very fascinating, very interesting. As we can all see, it's growing quite a bit.
It is, it is. It's pretty amazing, actually. It's not your mama's hydraulics anymore, Greg.
No, no, not at all. It's come a long way in my career, anyway.
For professionals that are looking to stay ahead in the industry, Greg, what would you tell them to focus on, or what skill sets or things of that nature should they try to wrap their head around and understand to get farther advanced in the industry?
I think that's a really good question. I would say keep learning. That's the number one thing. One thing I learned in my 30-year career or so in hydraulics now is that you have to keep an open mind and things are constantly changing, as you know. Keep your skill level up. Certification is a big thing. I'd highly recommend it. Getting as many hydraulic certifications, fluid power certification, whatever field of fluid power you're in, doesn't have to be hydraulic. Get your certifications. And I'd say now, even though it started off slowly, hydraulics, electrification of mobile and industrial machinery, especially in the mobile market, is really picking up. I would say get as much knowledge in how hydraulics interacts with electrification, fuel cells, alternative technology. We have to keep up with things because there are, let's say, threats, challenges as we know to hydraulics, right? Not only electromechanical, but other technologies. And I think it's important for us in the field to stay competitive and to stay technologically applicable and useful. I think we have to keep up with these technologies, keep learning and advance your knowledge. Keep your mind open. Don't be, no matter what age, you have to be willing to learn new things. I'm kind of a veteran of the industry, 30 years, but I'm really trying to read up on anything that I can find my hands on when it comes to hydraulic technology and how to interfaces with other technologies, whether it's mobile, off highway, anywhere where we can grow is a big fact.
Very good. Continuous learning. That's the
Yes,
ticket to anything, isn't it, Greg?
absolutely.
What would you say is the biggest current challenge in the fluid power industry?
I think there's a couple of challenges. One, bringing the new generation into the industry. We have a shortage. I think we all know it of technical people. With the boomers retiring, and not only we have right behind the boomers, the next generation of fluid power people that are not far from retirement. I think we have to groom the young people, women and men, to get interested in industry and to support technical colleges because as we know universities, if you think about it, here's one of the challenges, Megan. When I was at Parker, we recruited a lot from Purdue and other really good engineering universities. Out of 4 years, how many semesters of fluid dynamics does an average engineering have? If you're lucky, it's a semester. It's not
Right.
enough. Obviously, we have great institutions like Milwaukee School of Engineering that really focuses on hydraulics, but how many we have to expand those schools? Work with the technical colleges, the small technical colleges that focus on hydraulic technology and career courses, because it's not always, it's sometimes just a 2-year degree in a very focused environment that gets you much further in hydraulics. So one of the challenges, I would say number one challenge is getting the next generation, getting enough people interested in hydraulics so we can keep growing in our field. We have a shortage. We have to face that fact. That's really a very big challenge.
It is. That it is. I face that every day, Greg,
Yeah, yeah,
in my current position.
yeah, yeah, right. I could imagine. You see that every day, right?
Mhm. I
It's a
do,
small
I do.
industry, and I mean it's big industry, but it's small. It's close.
It is. It's such an interesting industry in that way.
Yes,
But, and this leads into that, but and I know what you're going to say probably, but I'm going to ask you anyway. The biggest hiring challenges that you see currently, qualified candidates, retention issues, the time it takes to hire, the onboarding process, what do you see currently?
all of those are challenges, Megan. Those are very good points. The biggest hiring challenges, I'd say, qualified candidates, because as I mentioned in my previous statement of getting the next generation going. And then we have to face facts that we're competing against other technology. So when engineering students are coming out of university, they have many choices. If they're electrical engineers, mechanical engineers, controls engineers, they don't necessarily, we're battling against, Google, against Apple. We are competing. That's why I say we're competing not only against, let's say, if I look at my firm, we're not only competing against our competitors and other manufacturers for the same talent pool, right? We have to get together as an industry and know that we're competing against other technologies. The money factor, of course, it's a challenge because you're trying to compete against high tech or technology that's a little sexier. Let's face facts.
What I was just gonna say,
We got to get
everybody
people
coming out looking for the new sexy
right.
thing, right?
I mean, how many people are coming out saying, I want to be in oil, right? They want to be in, everyone's talking about AI, I want to be in AI. This is where everything's at. And you try to explain to them, look, you can be part of AI, believe it or not. We're using it today, right now in the fluid power field. And they're like, no way. How are you using it? So you try to, you try to make, it is interesting. You really try to focus on the fact that it's a great field. It's a challenging field. It's a very fulfilling field. I know for my life, it's changed my life. Other people's lives, I wouldn't want to do anything else. And if you talk with other people in the field, they want to do anything else. And you have to try to explain that to your candidates, how interesting it is, why they should get involved in fluid power. And that's just one of the challenges in trying to bring in, let's say, new talent and competing for a smaller pool of people and trying to get more and more people involved.
I 100% agree there.
Yeah.
Branding. Need to work on branding, Greg.
Right. Branding, and if I could just, I guess maybe a few other points. As you mentioned, there's consolidation. We had talked a little bit about consolidation in the industry. That's also a
Mhm.
challenge. As you know, the industry is consolidating. There's more and more acquisitions. I got to tell you, Megan, you've seen it. Private equity isn't everything. Look, I'm not going to make a statement of whether it's good, bad. It's there. It's a reality. I have a lot of friends involved in private equity, and a lot of my integrators, a lot of our, not only mine, our integrators and manufacturers have been bought by private equity holding companies. This has presented opportunities and challenges because private equity, the philosophy, it changes the companies they buy. There's different goals in mind. We have to be adaptable and stay with it. Station also means sometimes less competition. I'm a little bit worried about that. We're a mid-sized manufacturer, Marzocchi. We're
Mhm.
the last of the Mohicans, I would say. We're a vertical. I don't know if I talked a little bit Marzocchi. We're a vertical manufacturer. How many of those are left? We're almost 100% vertical. We own, and I think it's exciting for hydraulics. I mean, we own our own high pressure die casting. We do our own machining from aluminum bar stock. We grind our own gears. I mean, how many people really do that? We control our own destiny. And I'm afraid as consolidation, where am I leading to this? As consolidation is coming, companies like ours are left are being bought up, and they're as soon as they're bought up, that all that changes. What you guys? Why do you grind your own gears? Why do you machine, your own gears? Why do you make your own bushings? Why do you have a high pressure die casting plant? We can outsource all that. You know what happens, right? Enough said. The story's written. So I think that's the other challenge to our industry. You brought up a good point. I think not only expanding our talent pool that we can hire from, but also consolidation and private equity and many other factors are making us face challenges and questions that we haven't faced before.
So, if you could go back and give advice to Greg 30 years ago,
Yeah.
what would you tell him?
Get my law degree. No, I'm just joking. If I could go back, I would tell him to be patient. As a young man, we have less patience. When you have a lot of experience in a field, you understand why listening more, listening to the customer's needs, listening to the market. Like I said, having patience, expand your knowledge, be willing to learn, be flexible, um, view your mistakes as a learning opportunity. It's not the end of the world. Things will always get better, no matter how bleak they seem sometimes, as we know. And I would tell a young Greg, now being through, I don't know how many recessions, Meghann, we've all been through them, financial crisis, COVID, many other things. The light, the sun will shine the next day. Just keep going. And like I said, just expand your knowledge and don't be afraid to also learn other technologies as they pertain to hydraulics. Don't be so focused on one product or one technology. Even if your company is making only, let's say, very focused on a niche product, don't be afraid to learn other products that integrate with your product, because it's very important. You can help the customer. It'll also help you win projects, because understanding the whole application helps you win business. Those are some of the key points that I would
Yeah,
bring
that's
out.
very good, Greg. I have one more, and this is kind of
Sure.
circling back around to
Sure.
the consolidation conversation. You were mentioning, how much Marzocchi takes their product into their own hands here. With everything that's been going on, supply chain disruptions, tariffs, things of that nature. So what have you seen as an impact from that today?
Being an Italian manufacturer, I feel like I'm a mosquito in a nudist colony. I don't know where to start. I gotta throw that joke. I was leaving.
I like it.
Uh, uh, and I really truly say that because I can only say that because you understand that the current tariff situation and everything that's happening, and what happened with the supply chain getting out of COVID and so forth. Yeah, we were greatly affected. The one thing that helped us, being a vertical manufacturer, is it taught us the advantages of doing that. I would say to other manufacturers, it helped us win business because a lot of people just weren't ready, or their supply chain was broken.
Mhm.
Doing everything in house, or most things in house, it helped us get a lot of business. Certainly, the tariffs have affected us in multiple ways. I think they've stabilized a little bit more now, but when they were first announced, it definitely affected us. Even though Europe wasn't hit as hard, uh, what example challenges of not only our finished product, but we do assembly here in Chicago and Elgin, Illinois. We're located. So they want to know our aluminum content, steel content, where the seals are manufactured. That's always interesting, isn't it? So we learned, like, okay, there's a 15% tariff on our product, but if the aluminum or steel is not coated the right way, we get hit with 50%. If your seals, because we don't make seals, right? Nobody does. If your seals are not made, let's say, in Europe or North America, and they're Asia, it's 50%, right? So that actually, and, we did have a few seals that were sourced, or at least, let's say, they were made in Italy, but the compounds, the composites, the materials were from Asia, offshore. So this definitely threw a big challenge. We're dealing with it. I can't tell you that. I can't pretend that it's easy. It's very challenging. I think it will stabilize. I think we saw some stabilization, but we still see some mistakes. For instance, I'm dealing with a situation last couple of weeks where the customs is coding our hydraulic gear motors as engine motors. How do you like that? 50%. We're like, no, this is not a diesel motor. It's not an engine motor. Well, explain that in your paperwork. So we work with our imported freight forwarding company, very big company, to make sure, okay, where the codification, where did it need to change? What happened? Are they viewing it? It was a misinterpretation. So we worked through
Okay.
it. It worked out. But then your inventory is there stuck in customs for 3 weeks, 4 weeks sometimes. It wasn't a lot, but it's certainly a shock to the system. So we have to deal with that. And I don't think the infrastructure is really prepared for, as you've seen, Megan, right? You've talked with other hydraulic fluid power companies. The challenge is the infrastructure and the manpower in the commerce, the customs as you're coming in is not prepared. They don't have enough people. Sometimes so I think we're getting through that. I think we're getting through it. But that's posed a lot of challenges for us for sure. There's no question about
Yeah, I think majority of procurement folks out there, Greg, are BFFs now with our freight forwarders.
it.
I'm
Yes.
pretty sure multiple conversations, if not daily, weekly, regarding things coming in. I mean, I
Oh
can't
yeah,
even imagine the stressors on that side that adds
for sure.
to not only the planning portion, but now, really drilling down with the forwarder on these types of situations. With the current situation too, Greg, there's more conversation around this. And I think it's going to drive significant change on the manufacturing side. I really
Absolutely.
do. And it's not all bad. I don't think it's all doom and gloom.
No. Yeah,
But
I agree.
certainly, having these conversations and thinking about different ways to navigate this and bringing more manufacturing here
Sure.
is a good thing.
It is a good thing. I agree with that totally. I do agree there's some positives, and I think we should bring manufacturing here.
Agreed. Agreed, Greg. Well, hey, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you,
It
Megan.
was great
Yeah,
to have you on here, Greg.
thank you.